That was I Get It from the Muffs. And right now, you got the Mighty Manfred. And I am so happy today to be having our coolest conversations with Kim Shattuck of the Muffs. Hello, Kim.
Hi, Manfred. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Where to begin? Now, did you know that when Rhino Records put out that Pandora's album, Stop Pretending, there were 4 individual Pandora posters? Did you know that?
I did know that. I did know that. And it's the most unflattering picture of me ever,
Oh,
still to this day.
I do not agree with that. What was it was kind of like you ladies with like the Beatles or something. Everybody had their own poster, and I think Melanie had a blue background. I think the drummer Karen had a green. Do you remember what color was your background?
Oh my God. Was it red? Was it? I
I think I
don't
was thinking a
remember.
red or a pink. So I know the
I
Pandora's
know.
like so the Pandora's in the 80s. Muffs have been at it since 1990, 1991. Is that right? 91?
Yeah, 91, January of 91, we had our first show. So, yeah, I consider it 91.
And so the new album is Whoop De Doo. That's the 6th full length. 10 years
Yes.
between that one and the previous one. Really, really happy.
Yes.
And I know in the intervening years you would play occasionally, but what's been going on for those past 10 years?
Well, I mean, when after we did really, really happy, we did, a tour and we did all that stuff. And after it started winding down, we wanted to take a little break. And when you take a break and you don't have a date to do the next stuff, you end up taking a longer break. And so we ended up taking a longer and longer and longer break. But I started doing photography again, which I did originally, and I started writing, but I took my time with it. And but when I songwrite, I go through spurts of songwriting activity, and which we call going on a roll. And so I had a blob of songs here, a blob of songs there, and we took our time. But yeah, before you knew it, 10 years had gone by, and it was like, whoa, it
When
was
you're
not good.
talking about developing songs and songwriting, so I was speaking to a mutual friend of ours, John Carlucci,
Yes.
and I know you had he was recording with Palmyra Delran, and you contributed some backing vocals to one of those songs, and he said that he had just seen you, the Muffs, performing at a benefit for the autism think tank, and it
Mhm.
was like an acoustic show, and that you gave a shout out to your mom in the audience, and you were thanking her for showing you chords on the guitar. So, what is your musical background? And did your mom really help you out on the guitar?
You know what? My mom showed me chords on the piano, and
Uh,
what it was I would bang my hands down, or I'd pick out a note or a chord. I'd pick it out. I go, Mom, what is this chord? And she would say, she'd figure it out. She'd go through each note and she would tell me what chord it was. And a lot of times it was some crazy jazz chord with, like an 11th or a 13th major or minor and diminished and augmented and all these just crazy cool chords. And yeah, she helped me with that. And I still, obviously I don't know. I could hear it more than I could talk about it, but yeah, I don't use those chords all the time in songs.
well, let me ask you
The
what I know that I was going to say with the Pandoras, you play bass, you guitar in the Muffs.
mhm.
What is your musical background when you were growing up? Was there always music present? Were you playing at a young age? That come later? How did that
there
start?
there was always music. A bunch of members of my family, they just get together and sing harmonies, and I have barbershop quartets in my family and sweet Adelines, and I grew up going to their rehearsals, and I didn't end up doing all this. I didn't end I didn't end up doing a lot of harmonies, but I really got a big, my parents went to church a lot and the church choir, and I think my musical background is a lot of that stuff.
where did you actually grow up?
I grew up in, I was born in Long Beach, but I grew up in Orange County, south of Los Angeles.
So you're from here in Southern California, and you were about to say that rock and roll really didn't figure into your early music development, or not?
Not much, no. When I was a little kid, I didn't really have a lot of rock and roll around me, but I don't know. Every once in a while, my parents would listen to the oldie station, and we'd be driving around. And one time, Peggy March came on. Her voice was so beautiful, and it was clear of any kind of annoying vibrato, because I grew up with all this vibrato from my grandma to my aunts to my uncles. It was just like, oh, all the time. And so I grew to not like vibrato. Anytime I heard a voice that was clear of vibrato and then they were singing melody, I love melody. I'm like a melody fiend. When I hear a good melody, I just go crazy.
So how did you then wind up in the Pandoras? I know the Pandoras had a lineup and it split, and Paula Pierce wound up sort of heading up one version of the Pandoras. How did you wind up playing with them?
I was going out with this guy from a band called The Fad, and I used to go see them all the time, and through them, I met Melanie from the Pandoras. Mm-hmm. We ran into each other at a little store, clothing store, and I guess they had just gotten rid of a bass player, so they decided my look was right, and that they asked my boyfriend and me if I played bass, and we lied and said I did, and I didn't. I played a little guitar, but I didn't play bass. But my boyfriend played bass, so he, quickly showed me all the little tricks and stuff, and it wasn't that hard. And so I went to Melanie's and auditioned with them, and I got it.
Well, I was going to say it sounds like a very kind of very stereotypical thing or generalization of what someone would think it would be like in Los Angeles, where they would just size you up and go, "Oh, she's got the look. Strap a bass on her and let it go."
I know. And it wasn't until later that they asked me if I could sing, and I said, "Oh yeah, I could sing." Yeah, I forgot. I didn't even think about it because I got kicked out of the choir when I was, in high school.
What did you do to get kicked out of the choir? You bad girl?
No, my audition, I was in I was in the vocal ensemble, which was the best of the best of the best. And we would go to old age homes and scare the old people by singing at them. And then the next year, I got demoted. I had a bad audition and I got demoted to a bad singing group, like the lowliest one. So I dismissed singing out of my mind after that. I'm not going to be a singer. I suck. I'm a terrible singer. And,
it's funny to hear you say that type of stuff because your singing with the Muffs is so stylized and great. I mean, Kim Shattuck is singing, and it's Kim Shattuck going, and it's from screaming to carrying these great melodies that you come up with. That's all really, really cool. One thing I want to touch on here, you started playing with the Pandoras, and then honestly, after that Stop Pretending album, musically they became much more like a hard rock band. A lot of moose abuse going on there, which was happening, I think, all over in Los Angeles at the time. Hair care products, probably somebody was making a fortune off that stuff. But then, so the Pandoras kind of come to this end. I mean, what they were playing was stylistically much harder than when you had joined the band. And then with the Muffs, musically, you guys are a million years from what the end of the Pandoras were doing. What happened there towards the end of the Pandoras, and what was the spark that gave rise to creating or forming the Muffs?
The Pandoras, as very brief time went by, the songs went from being something I liked to something I hated. And because she would get on a kick, Paula would get on a kick, and she would start writing a whole different style of songs. She went through a brief Bryan Adams phase, I think it was. And after that, it was a little bit poppier. Like, she had her Madonna phase, and then she had her Bryan Adams phase, and then suddenly she had her Whitesnake phase. And so when she had her Whitesnake phase, I thought I was going to lose my mind. And I started, well, and I'd always written songs, but I wrote terrible songs. Like, I did not like my songs yet. So I just kept practicing, writing songs, finding my way. And then, as the end of the Pandoras got nasty, people started quitting, getting fired. Like, Melanie got fired from the Pandoras. I was just like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. And we were set to go on a European tour, but Paula canceled it behind our backs because her boyfriend couldn't go along. And so, I can't believe it. That's just the worst decision I've ever heard. So I quit. And
Wow, all the things you're describing, they're just the inner political things. That it's just, unfortunately, that's so typical in bands.
Yeah, it was nasty, and so I had to take that as an experience of what not to do,
Right.
and we had to start our own thing. And so myself, Ronnie Barnett, and Melanie Vamin started the Muffs.
And for initially, you guys were on, well, you'd release some singles, different smaller independent labels, and then you got picked up by a major label, and you had several albums on a major label. What are any horror stories from that? I mean, generally that's thought of as, they run you through the meat grinder kind of thing. And what was your relationship to Warner Brothers, and then Reprise or Reprise? I never know how to say that. What was that like being involved? Reprise. Well,
it was fine. They didn't really know what to do with us, and we're very, very, very stubborn. And we actually have it written into their contract that they can't tell us what to do. And I'm not sure exactly how it's worded, but they couldn't tell us what to do musically, or I don't think they could tell us what to do about anything. And so we just went along our merry way and just did whatever we wanted. And
so musically with the Muffs, I mean, drastically different from the end of the Pandoras. That was just, what you were doing musically, that was just how your own personal songwriting had developed up to that point as being, how would you describe your own, how would you describe the songwriting, the Muff songs? It's not, it's not heavy metal, obviously. What would you say, power pop or punky pop, or if you had to describe it?
It's so hard for me to describe it, but if I had to try, it's, I think we're influenced by the Beatles a lot, and loud guitars. So, the way I look at it is the melody has to ring out, it has to be interesting, but I have an aggression about me that comes out in the music a lot, but also a sweetness comes out in the music. So I would call it rock and roll that's melodic and aggressive.
I think that's perfect. So when you guys formed, there was Melanie and also Ronnie. Ronnie's been with you the whole time. And then drummer-wise, there were some other guys before you settled on Roy McDonald. How did you come to find Roy?
Well, originally, at the very beginning, we asked Roy if he wanted to be in the band, and he said he was moving to Dallas, and so he couldn't do it. And we were bummed out because Roy's the best drummer on the planet. And so he recommended somebody named Chris Crass, who he worked with. And so we met him, and he's a good drummer and sings, and he was great. And so we got Chris Kratz, but Chris Kratz has a very, very big personality, and that didn't work out. So we got another guy who's really super nice, and we're friends to this day, named Jim Laspisa. But Roy became available, and we just couldn't help ourselves. We had to get Roy in the band because he was our original choice, and it's been that way ever since.
Not only do you have had the Muffs going on, but recently, last year, I guess, I don't guess, I know, you were picked to play with the Pixies. I mean, you joined the Pixies for an amount of time.
Yes.
What was that like? I mean, I have to think, originally that was like a very positive thing, right?
Oh, my God, yeah, because I love the Pixies. I love their, like, Doolittle and, songs off of that. And yeah, when they got a hold of me to join their band, I was amazed. It was
they sought you out.
One of my favorite bands. Yeah, they did. They sought me out, and they auditioned other girls. Like, I think there was 3 of us total auditioning on different days, different consecutive days, and they ended up picking me, and I did a bunch of rehearsing with them. And joined the tour. I think I was in the band for about 9 months.
Well, I'm sorry that things didn't work out with that, but for what it's worth, I think we're all better off hearing you make music on your own terms.
Thank you. I know it worked out really well.
in the confines of the Pixies. So what can we look forward to now from the Muffs? We got the new album out. Are you guys going to be doing playing more shows? Is there bigger tours down the line, or what's up?
We'll be playing in Japan in early November, and then we're not sure yet, but we plan on doing a bunch of shows. Oh,
excellent. All right. Thanks, Kim, so much for speaking with me today. And now it's time for us to get... You were certainly welcome. Now it's time for us to get cheesy with the Muffs.
Cheesy!
Here on your coolest Conversations, Little Steven's Underground Garage.